I follow Anne Lamott on social media. Any of you familiar with her work and her writing? She's a wonderful writer. So she shared a post this week. I want to share with you the story that she shared. She starts off saying that I've shared this story many times before, but it just always bears repeating. A great war horse comes upon a sparrow lying in the street on its back with its legs sticking straight up in the air. The horse bends down, sneering, and asks, "What on earth are you doing?" The sparrow replies, "I'm trying to hold back the darkness." And the horse says, "So what? What do you weigh, like an ounce?" And the sparrow says, "One does what one can. One does what one can." And then she goes on in her writing, in her post, speaking of the realities of the day and her own personal practices of finding gratitude, of finding the light, of finding ways to hold the joy. For those are the elements where we find our rest and also the places where we find our healing. And from those places, we help to heal the planet. And I love her comment, just shine a little brighter. Shine a little brighter. In every moment that you can remember, we shine a little brighter. My daughter and I are always saying, vibes up, vibes up. You know, we get down, just have to make sure you've got people around you that help you remember. The images that we're using today were created by the people, by perhaps Harold W. Becker himself, the Love Foundation, thelovefoundation.com. He has some beautiful work on that site. Are you reaching out to find? Are you reaching out to find your joy? Are you reaching out to find those places where you are lifted up in every moment? I was grateful to see, and now I forget her first name, but the last name of the family, I think, is CRISPR. I just shared it, but the little girl who was in the urgent care emergency room parking lot, and she and her family were taken by ice, and she just had, you know, a little 7-year-old girl. She had such a bloody nose, it just had been bleeding, and her parents took her to urgent care, and it took over a week for her to get any care. The congresswoman from her district, I believe it's Oregon, went down this week and got she and her family out of Delhi. Every story that we can find of light and love helps lift us. There are times when there are moments when I feel like, oh, okay, it's all better now. Well, it's not all better now, but it's quiet, a little quiet, it's good. And then I go, no, it's not. There is still so much hatred activity happening in our world that we are being called to rise up, to shine a little brighter, to find a way. I so wish that I didn't have to come here on Sunday morning and talk about such things, that we could just go play hopscotch But we are so called to come up higher, aren't we? To hold the light, to hold the love, and to find beautiful images like these that just, for me, they just open my heart to find that place within us. I always loosely name my talks, and I never know if I actually stick by that or not, but the word that came to me last week was amplify. To amplify the love, to amplify the light, the compassion, the caring. Albert Einstein, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. We know that, we need to remember that everything is energy. The next book we're going to be using in our book study, I think, if the group decides to do it, is Listen, Beloved by Martha Smock, a Unity minister. I gave Charlotte the book earlier, so I don't have the quote in front of me that I was going to use, but because I didn't write it down, I was going to use the book. But it's something to the effect of this very same message of Albert Einstein. Charles Fillmore, in his writings and his listening and development and discerning of Unity teachings, he and his wife Myrtle, it's all one message, it's all one light, it's all one love. That Christed divine within you is what lifts you up and leads you into that brightness, that helps you to remember that you are one. There is only one presence and one power. If there is only one presence and one power as we teach, then we are, of course, one with that energy, one with that vibration. And every time that we can stop and remember that and align ourselves, then we can find our peace, we can find our hope, and we continue to move into that path of awareness and healing. The good news is, and there's so much of it, that we are in a time of tremendous transformation on the planet. I was going to share with you a little bit more of Anita Morjani has been coming up in my algorithms. She just all of a sudden appeared. Do you guys remember Anita Morjani? Anita Morjani is the woman who had been, let me just share with you a little bit of it, but I want to share something else with you, so I want to leave time. On the morning of February 2nd, 2006, after 4 heart-wrenching years with cancer, my body had finally had enough and I went into a coma. Her husband had rushed her to the hospital. The doctors said her heart is still beating, but her body is dying. She stayed in a coma. I could probably find it here. I can't remember. She said that if she had died, it would have said on her death certificate, organ failure. And she got, because she was above her body and she was watching everything going on. And her husband was right by her side. And there was a moment in this near-death experience that she said she was watching, she was traveling, she was experiencing the allness, the oneness, an amazing journey. Ones that I'd love to hear about, but I don't know if I necessarily would want to experience. I don't know, maybe I'm a little, I don't know. That's a thought for another day. That's interesting. Now I gotta go process that. Because they're so cool when you read of them. The people that come back. But she heard in a moment, her father was with her and her best friend Sonny was with her. and who had died 3 years earlier. And they were both with her as she was doing this out-of-body near-death experience. And she remembers coming to that moment when she said, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I want to go into this beautiful light that I am experiencing out here and the knowing of everything. And she said, simultaneously, my father communicated with me, this is as far as you can go, sweetheart. If you go any further, you can't come back. I became aware of a boundary before me, although the demarcation wasn't physical. It was more like an invisible threshold marked by a variation of energy vessels. I knew that if I crossed it, there was no turning back. All my ties to the physical world would be permanently severed. But before I stepped into this realm for good, toward this realm for good, I became aware of a new level of truth. I discovered that since I had realized in this experience who I really was and understood the magnificence of my true self, I chose to go back to life. My body would heal rapidly, not in months or weeks, but in days. If I chose to go back to my body, I knew that the doctors would not be able to find even a trace of cancer. As though to confirm my realization, I became aware of both my father and Sonny communicating with me. Now that you know the truth of who you really are, go back and live your life fearlessly. It was the afternoon of February 3rd, about 30 hours after I had entered the coma. My eyes started to flicker open around 4 p.m. and as my vision was blurred, I could barely see that the outline standing in front of her was her husband. And the first thing she heard was from her husband, she's back. I regained consciousness. My cancer began to heal rapidly. To the amazement of my doctors, I was free of countless tumors and cancer indicators within weeks. Since then, I've heeded the call to share this powerful story and divine lesson with the world. This is why she came back, to share this message. Love yourself fully. That's your purpose. That's what you are here to do. Her book, I believe, is titled Dying to Be Me. It's a beautiful book. And her website, I copied this information off of her website in her about information. Anita Morjani's story is beautiful and amazing. Some would call it a miracle. I would call it the natural outworking of an expanded consciousness awakening. That the more we know, the more we evolve, the more aware we become, the higher elevated our senses become, and the more of life that we can experience. Now, everybody's experience is not like Anita's. That was her journey to come back. We cannot say what someone's healing journey is. That is for them to decide. No one is ever a failure if they don't have the same kind of experience. It's so important for us to remember that we are each on our individual path. It's our journey. We are the little sparrows lying on the ground with our feet up in the air, trying to hold back the darkness. One does what one can do.
Yeah.
One does what one can do. So I invite you to pay attention and to listen deeply for what is yours to do. I know I talk about this all the time. I know. But We both. I wonder who the other is. We all need to come together, work individually and collectively. It's our journey, it's our individual life, and yet we are part of a collective. We are a part of all that is. Before the service started, I'm not going to be able to share this with you now because there's not enough time, but I was looking for Howard Becker's The Love Foundation, and I came across a piece by David Alt, who was a Centers for Spiritual Living minister, and he said so much what I have been feeling. That for a teacher like David Alt to not be able to come up with the words to give to people during this time, because we're hearing how to fix ourselves from everywhere, aren't we? And on one hand, that's really wonderful. I mean, that's really good that so many people are stepping up and helping to shine the light, to lift that light, to shine brighter. But David also says, but there isn't one truth. That's not how life works. That we each have to find our own individual light. We each get to carry our own individual joy. There's a saying that we often use in Unity, because that's where I've heard it, is you follow the teachings, not the teacher. Follow the teachings, not the teacher. Allow your heart to be your guide and to be your teacher, to find your truths. Because human beings are egoic beings and we tend to be flawed. Find your truth, find your way, find that way that works for you to be a light in the world. I'm going backwards. We do that, don't we? This was from last week. Again, just a reminder. If you want to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. Pay attention to how you're feeling. From the inside out and from all around you. Find that alignment. From Anita. Why do I suddenly understand all of this? I wanted to know. This was during her NDE. I wanted to know who's giving me this information. Is it God, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus? And then I was overwhelmed by the realization that God isn't a being, but a state of being. And I was now in that state of being. God is not an anthropomorphic being. It is a vibration. It is a consciousness. It is an intelligence that no one has yet figured out how to capture it. Love yourself fully. That's your purpose. That's what you're here to do. And I want to close with this. Just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it became a butterfly. And so it is.